You're listening to WDAP Radio.
Welcome to ProTalk with the Mighty Oba. Today, we have with us one of the most extraordinary ladies that I have ever met in my life. Flo Anthony is just described as being busy. She has done more as an award-winning journalist. Flo is a best-selling author of more than 3 novels. She's also one of the original celebrity gossips. She is probably the one that is the forerunner of all of the celebrity inside reality shows that you're seeing today. We have with us a living legend. Not only that, but her involvement in sports and writing and producing and being a radio show host is just legendary. She is who I call the legendary Flo Anthony. Miss Anthony, how are you today?
Oh my goodness, I'm going to have a big head. Thank you for all those marvelous accolades. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm great, and you are also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, along with my mother. You are one of my favorite people.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am. Alpha Chapter, Howard University.
Howard University.
That I am.
Hey, you know, I was thinking about this interview for several days, and I always wanted to ask you about your first column. I think it was Keep Punching. Was that your first?
Oh, yeah, it really wasn't my first column. My first column was actually when I was in high school. I was the youth reporter from my high school, Ann Arbor Huron High, to the Ann Arbor newspaper. Mm-hmm. And so I had every week a column. You know, we had to turn in, we all contributed to one page, a youth page from every school. So it actually wasn't, my column writing actually began when I was in high school.
Okay. Now,
Keep Punching was my first New York City column.
Okay.
And that it was in the Black American newspaper.
Okay. What year did that get started?
Keep Punching, I would say about 82, 83 in there. About 82.
Now, when you started writing that, did you see any leeway into the other bigger newspapers? Were they beginning to look at you from that writing?
Well, that's how I did get to the New York Post. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did get to it through Keep Punching. Dean Miminger Sr. And Bob Williams, they had, I think it was called Black Sports something or other they called me up, they've been reading the column, and said that the New York Post wanted to hire a sister to be the agate clerk in the New York Post sports department, and they were going to recommend me. And so, that did come from me having Keep Punching. But then when I got to the interview for the job, Jerry Lisker, may he rest in peace, he was his editor, and he said the only thing he could see on my whole resume was I'd worked for Butch Lewis and Michael Spinks, and so they were his best friends, and so then I did get the job. But I went through a lot even for that, because the guy that they said, I think it was Bob Williams, told me, this guy Mike George, he works there, call him. And he wasn't, even though he became one of my dearest friends, he was not encouraging at all. And I said, well, I'm going to call Dick Young. And, you know, Dick Young was a legendary sports writer. He said, well, he's never here. I said, I'd call him at home. You know, I've been doing all this, sports PR. I got his number. So then he told me I didn't really want that job. It's a kid's job. I said, look, I really need the job. So then he said, well, to call Bill Gallo, because his son, Greg Gallo, did the hiring. Now, Bill Gallo was the great cartoonist. So when I called him, he said, give him 15 minutes to call his son. And he gave me his son's number at the Post. He said, give him 15 minutes and then call him. And so I did. And then that's how I actually even got the actual interview.
Now you mentioned Dean Miminger Sr. Is that the same one that used to play for the New York Knicks?
Yes, that is the same one. He passed away several years ago.
Yes,
I
that's
say
right.
senior because his son, Dean Miminger Jr., is a big anchor person and reporter for New York One.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
got
so
you.
now you have to differentiate.
Well, tell me, what was your experience with the New York Post? How did that work out for you?
Well, I stayed there almost 10 years. And I, was promoted throughout the time. I went from being the agate clerk in the sports department over to the entertainment department and being the clerk over there. And from there being promoted over to page 6. And so I had several lives over there at the New York Post. It wasn't an easy job, though, there, because at the time I was there was only 3, maybe 4 black people working editorially. In fact, we were going to NABJ one year, and so one of the guys over the Daily News said, "You all can't even fill up a taxi cab," which was kind of true.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't easy, but I made it through it.
Well, tell me, in working with celebrities, have you ever had any difficulty with any of them? Sometimes they can be very temperamental.
Well, you mean as far as interviewing them? Or,
Yes.
yeah, well, I had problems, of course, with Whitney Houston. I mean, she sued me. You can't get any more problematic than that. But in the end, before she passed away, I think we hugged each other somewhere or other. And, of course, she didn't win any lawsuit. She settled before I actually settled, because people are now still saying to this day, I should go back and sue her estate. But she, I think the Post paid her legal fees. That's all she got out of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's about it. I didn't generally get along with people.
Right.
Even to the point, like with a Vivica Fox and a Lisa Ray McCoy, I have deals with them. I call them directly if I hear anything. I don't go through a publicist or anything.
Right.
So that's
Now,
that's how that is.
Yes, you've been in the business for so long, and you're a forerunner of celebrity reporting. How has it changed? Has social media played a role?
Yeah, social media has played a role. All these bloggers have played a role because, I don't really consider them journalists. And the internet certainly played a huge role, because you used to be out here with a story and it'd be exclusive. You could be exclusive till the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're only exclusive for about a minute.
Right.
Because as soon as anything goes up on the internet, it's out.
Mm.
So that's the difference.
Now, you also you had a working relationship with the great Muhammad Ali. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's so funny that everybody asks me that. I just did an interview with my friend Jason Cross the other week, and that's all he wanted to know about. It's so funny. At the stage of the champ's life that I work with him, it was more moving him from point A to B. I actually worked on the Muhammad Ali Cohen and Muhammad Ali Cologne through Murad Muhammad, who was a boxing promoter.
Right.
And then we would have Ali as guest at fights he was promoting. So, like, for instance, in Atlantic City once, I think that Larry Holmes was fighting Scott Frank. I think that's who he was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And the casino had said I could have a party, but I had to deliver both Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. I couldn't find Muhammad Ali forever. I finally found him. He finally showed up. But with my work with him, it was actually delivering him from A to B. In fact, a friend of mine, she passed away, Sandra Usry, when I first met her down in Atlantic City, and she had a television show and a radio show, and we came with Muhammad Ali. And she said, "How is you, this young sister, working with Muhammad Ali?" And I never even thought of it that way. I would call him champ. He'd say, "Are you calling me tramp?" I mean, I just never even, I guess I never thought at the moment the huge deal that was. I was just trying to do a job and do it well.
Mm. Well, tell me about your relationship with Larry Holmes and your thoughts about him.
I tell you what, he told my boyfriend the other week, Flo's coming back to work for me, and you get the person that's working for him now. That's my relationship with Larry Holmes. I said that he and his wife Diana, if they could just keep me in Easton forever, I would be there forever. But I worked for him. I think for about 4 years I worked for Larry, and he's a character, but he's basically a pretty good guy, character that he is. We accomplished a lot. We did 60 Minutes. I got him on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. We accomplished a lot while I worked for him.
Do you think he'll
and
ever...
now I'm around him a lot because, I work for Michael Spinks.
Right.
And so we do a lot of events with Larry.
Okay. Do you think he'll ever get his just due? Because if you look at his record, Larry Holmes was really one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Yeah, he held that championship for 5 years straight and was 48-0 until Michael Spinks happened to beat him twice, and
Yeah.
he never was able to break Rocky Marciano's record, and I think he will always be angry about that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
life goes on. But he came after all that thunder of Muhammad Ali, and that's one reason that he did not get his just due prior to Mike beating him. Because
Right.
it was right after all that thunder of Muhammad Ali.
Have,
And, at one point he was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner.
Right.
Even. And then, the thing, though, that last fight that Larry had with Ali, some people think he should have held off a little bit. And when afterwards he did go to him and apologize for beating him so bad.
Right. Let me ask you, did he forgive Michael Spinks?
I don't think so. I mean, now we've gone to 3 years in a row to Larry's golf tournament. First, Mike wasn't going to go. I said, look, they want you to come. We got to go. And like I said, we traveled recently. We just saw him 2 weeks ago at Fight Night in D.C., and we went to Canada with them back in June. I mean, we're with them a lot now because they're boxing legends, and there's all these appearances, so they get along just fine.
Flo, I want to
really do.
I want to introduce you to my road dog, my buddy. He's covered 13 Super Bowls with me. He's the sports editor for the Challenger Community News, George the Radman Radney.
Yes.
All right, George, how you doing?
Good, and yourself, Flo? How's everything?
I'm doing great, just great.
Yes, indeed. That snow gets you down here. This delayed me a little bit
Yeah,
today.
you know what? I was out in all that snow on Monday because I had to go down to my radio network, and I made it back. By the time I made it back home, it had started to change to rain.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's good.
Yes, indeed.
You also had an opportunity. You should have been on The View. Am I correct? Is that true?
Well, I know that they did want me on The View, but Barbara Waltz is one of the main people out there that was blackballing me, so that never was going to happen. Because one of the original producers of The View, was one of my producers at Araldo.
Mm-hmm.
And, so they wanted me, but that wasn't happening.
Another thing that you're noteworthy for is your commentary on The Unsung on TV One. How did you get involved with that?
Well, it was actually Life After.
Okay.
I did maybe 2 unsungs. I did the Haywood Nelson one because he asked me to do it, and I think I did one other one. But Life After I was on, I think, for 3 years, consistently every week. They called me up. That's how that happened. They called me and asked me to do it, and I said yes.
Tell me about your thoughts on Wendy Williams and some of the modern day gossips. How do you see how they they talk about some things I've never heard you even refer to.
Can we skip Wendy? I would rather not discuss her.
All right.
I just would rather not talk about it.
Okay.
I don't want to be, down in a sister, so I'd rather skip her.
How about how do you
else.
see it in general? Not Wendy. I wasn't saying Wendy Williams per se, but just the modern celebrity gossips and reality TV. How do you see them. And
well, I don't think there's any real modern celebrity gossips out here. I mean, I know you see TMZ, but the things that even when they had the Page Six show last year, and I worked at Page Six for a very long time. It still is not the level of celebrity reporting that I did. You have to remember, I'm the first black person when I went on Page Six to have a gossip, be part of a gossip page, the world-renowned gossip page in general market media. At the New York Post, I'm going to say this, and I hope they hear it. I was very upset. I'm just going to go on the record. When the New York chapter of NABJ honored, and I love Bevy Smith, but they honored Bevy Smith, I think, 2 weeks ago. Now, I was in D.C. anyway at Fight Night. I probably, I guess I wouldn't have gone there if I had to do that, but I wasn't even here. But and I'm not bragging, I'm a groundbreaking journalist.
Right.
I was the first black woman in the sports department at the New York Post. I went over to the entertainment department where I was the first black person in the entertainment department at the New York Post. Then I scooted on over to Page Six. I went over there because they brought me over there because I kept breaking stories.
Mm-hmm.
And breaking stories. And so I became the first black person to write gossip in the United States of America in general marketing. And they never honored me. Has everyone lost their minds or what? I have never felt so demeaned in my life. And I don't care if you send a tape to the head of the New York chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists, because that's crazy, because I still to this day, I'm a freelance contracted employee of the New York Daily News.
Right.
I'm still doing what I always did. And it's just, so that's what I think about the gossip out here today. I don't think there's, I don't know if I think there's any real gossip columnists other than out here that are black, like I said, you got TMZ, and then you got, oh God, she's my soror. She used to be on TMZ. What's her name? I think she's on E now. For a while, she was over at Entertainment Tonight, because I was doing freelance work for them and the Insider. I can't think. I could see her, and I can't think of her name, and she's my soror. She's fabulous, but it's still not, still not the celebrity reporting of the gossip that I did and still do on the radio every day, and with columns that I still write.
How do you see, Flo, the Bill Cosby situation? That's another.
That he shouldn't be in jail. That is so ridiculous. He's in jail for paying off for this woman that he paid off 25 years ago. It's crazy. How you gonna have an 80-old man in jail? There's things that I just don't agree with. They could have given him house arrest. He obviously has not redeemed himself. He still feels no remorse. And that's the only reason you go to jail is to redeem yourself. And so that is, he paid off that Andrea chick years ago, and people that were on the Bill Cosby show and working on the set of Bill Cosby saw her over there constantly. He is telling the truth. They had a consensual sexual relationship. Even if it was infidelity, he was cheating on his wife.
Right.
But, I mean, that he should not be in jail, at least not for that girl. He paid that off years ago. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems like the time that we're in, Flo.
The time that we're in is very scary, because any time people can come back. Let's take, of course, nobody wanted Brett Kavanaugh to get on the Supreme Court because he's a Republican. We didn't want him.
Right.
But for that woman to say that he did something to her in junior high school, but she didn't know where it was. She couldn't remember when it was. She couldn't remember that. I mean, that was crazy. So we're all probably going to have to go to jail at one point in life, because everybody did something in junior high school. Or they were saying, people were saying, well, he got drunk in college. He didn't get drunk in college. We're living in a horrible time.
How do you see?
It's a terrible time that we're living in.
Flo, how do you see Harvey Weinstein? That's a guy that...
Well, everybody knew this about Harvey Weinstein, first of all. This was not a secret in the entertainment industry. I mean, he was using the couch and, the casting couch back and forth. Everybody knew all this, but nobody tried to stop him. Why didn't somebody try to stop him from exploiting women and assaulting women.
Right. And looks.
People knew all that Matt Lauer stuff. Everybody over at NBC knew.
Right.
Why wasn't somebody trying to stop him?
That's a good question. Very good question. And with a case like the Harvey Weinstein case, it still hasn't gone to trial yet. It seems like,
and it probably won't go to trial because in the end, a lot of it, there's no tangible proof.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's because things happened so long ago. There's no tangible proof, and he has enough money to keep it, going back and forth to court. And as you know, the longer things stretch out, the less power they have.
Correct. Flo, you also had another column, the Eye on Stars, which
yes,
was
in
in
the National Examiner. I'm also the first African American to have a column in a tabloid. Yeah. So, but New York chapter NABJ don't want to give me a award. Please. Woo, can they kiss my behind?
I'm gonna make sure our local rep knows your feelings on this immediately, and they need to correct this injustice.
Oh no, it's the New York chapter though. It's the New York chapter. So, but any rate, my goodness. But what was I getting ready to say? Yes, I had that column. I had it for a very long time. In fact, I might have had that column I think I started in about '94. And I had it up until about 2001 or 2.
Wow. Now, how many Super Bowls have you covered?
I started covering them in '85. And I was there last year, so how many years is that? 1985. Was that 41 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
This is my 20th year, so you were there before me. That's where I met you.
Yeah, I was there. That's kind of groundbreaking, too. And I applied for a credential for this year, but I think one of my associates is going to cover the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If
we get the credential.
What Super Bowl stands out to you out of those 41 years?
I love them all. But, of course, in the beginning, anytime the Giants, they won because it's my home team. But I've loved them all. The feeling of, when my mom was alive and, I'd cover the Super Bowl, I would call her the minute, and I have to go to a payphone in the beginning because, I'm before cell phones. And I call her and tell her I'm inside the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And just that feeling.
Yes.
Of being inside that stadium, and it's a Super Bowl. It's so exhilarating, and it's just unbelievable.
It is.
It still is, especially the 2 hours before kickoff.
Oh yeah.
It seems like you can cut the tension with a knife. It is a remarkable feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, were you in Minnesota?
I was in Minnesota at the Super Bowl many years ago.
Okay.
Back in the 90s.
I got you. That was the Bills.
Right. Oh, that's right. That was
Bills.
Was it the Bills or the
Yeah,
Redskins?
it was Bills and Washington. We took a beating.
Yeah, Bills and the Redskins. I just remember the Redskins.
Yeah, we took
and
a beating.
I didn't remember who they played. Yeah, your poor Bills are pitiful. They just keep going and they don't win.
They're trying to rectify it.
Yeah,
they're trying to get it together.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did good Thanksgiving Day. They did good Thanksgiving. I watched the game against Dallas.
Now, tell me, how do you balance entertainment and sports? I know they're both entertainment, but how do you balance the two?
Because they are both entertainment, and as I started out in the sports department. The sports didn't make money; the gossip did.
I got you.
I know, and I'm back, with Michael working in boxing again. So, I'm back with that again, and it's very exciting.
Now, and you've got 3 novels out.
Yeah, I'm working on a 4th one if it ever gets finished. I do, and it's funny. I'm starting a podcast on my radio network, Super Radio and American Urban Radio Network. We're starting a podcast of my book, Deadly Stuff Players. And, so every day I have to read a chapter. And so the other day I said, let me just reread this whole thing. And I was like, this book is kind of good. I never even realized, when you put it down, and everything. But that's one of my newest ventures, a podcast with the book, Deadly Stuff Players.
Nice.
And you can get it on AURN.com. And they have all these other things. Google Play, something else. But it's not quite up and running yet. I think they're doing the artwork, and I'm just starting to record the chapters.
Well, tell us about your the book, First Keeping Secrets, Telling Lies.
Well, that was the very, very first book. The lead character is Valerie. She's a gossip columnist. She's basically me, because my books are kind of faction, because a lot of my life is in these books, and characters are named after my family and friends and stuff. It's kind of it's interesting. And her in Keeping Secrets, Telling Lies, she meets Rome Nyland, who becomes her best friend in the next two books. And he's an NFL Hall of Famer turned private investigator. And he's investigating the murder of his cousin. And her name is Charmaine Sutton. And so he's investigating her murder. And that's how he kind of meets Valerie. And they become friends. And Valerie, during the course of the book, maybe 5 other people are murdered. And he and Valerie solved the crime together. So that started the whole Rome and Val series with first Deadly Stuff Players and then One Last Deadly Play, which is now 3 years old. And I'm putting Rome and Val to rest. I'm working on, it's actually a Christmas novel. Not going to be out this Christmas, though. It's called, what is it called? A Deadly Diva's Christmas Tale. Yeah.
That sounds very interesting.
Yes, indeed. It's an excellent novel.
A Deadly Diva's Christmas Tale.
WDAP Radio, Spreaker.com.